Basanda. I'm from Slovakia, which is Middle Europe, and I came to Kenya as a volunteer for 6 months to work with these amazing gentlemen from Future with Wakimbizi project, and it's really honor to work with them. I'm learning every day, and it's really fun, and that's it for now. Thank you very much.
We went to the community, the refugees community, during these times of COVID-19, when the COVID-19 was really so hard or hit hard in Kenya, and the situation with the refugees, how it was with them, how they were faring with it, and also a lot of issues come in between and exacerbated it so much more. So without any further ado, when we went to the community, they gave us the feedback of the thing that they have been through, a range of number of thematic areas from freedom of movement to barriers in access to services, and to the documentation and ID. We've had all that through a period of 6 months, collection of data here and there among the refugees community. And the finding that we got is what we presented last year, December, and it's what we want to present to you today, so that we can have discussions here and there. And to different organizations that are here, you are highly welcome. And we hope that the finding that we have here today and the recommendation that we will present to you today will be able to align with your organization mission and vision, and that we will be able to collaborate together in this project and in other projects to make sure that the future of the refugees is bright while they are here in the urban centers, as they are trying their best to live their lives here in the urban centers. We hope that the experiences, the daily experiences that we will present to you will align with your mission and vision of your organization. So without any further ado, I would welcome our chairperson, who will come and present the first presentation of the future with Wakimbizi. Put your hands together for John Marie to come and give us the first presentation of the project.
So habari zenyu. For those who don't understand habari zenyu, how are you? How are you? Okay, great. For me, I don't want to take so much time to really say the things that my colleagues have already said, but rather to just go deep into this conversation. Thank you so much for honoring our invite. For most of you were in our first launch. That was in 2021, right? 2021 in December. And I think we were appreciative that major stakeholders were able to come. And to see that you've come here again to hear about this campaign we are running is something amazing. For us, it's very encouraging. And we want to say a big thank you to you. I wish I was able to say you in names, but for now, let me just say thank you so much, stakeholders. Thank you so much, the refugee community, for coming to this campaign. So the campaign is called The Future with Wakimbizi. I know that some of us probably are wondering, specifically for those who were not with us the first time, why we decided to call this campaign like this. So first of all, Wakimbizi is just a Swahili word that means refugees. We all understand that. And most of us are refugees. I'm from this refugee-led organization called Youth Voices Community, and we're supporting the humanitarian sector in helping our community. And essentially, today, we have prepared around 87 slides, but we don't think that's very important. I think the important thing we want to present to you is how we can partner, how we can work together, how can refugee-led organization be appreciated and empowered to run the works they do. Because during COVID, we have seen so many of them were open, whereas many other NGOs were forced to close. But for us, YVC Voices, we are in the community. I have seen Inva here. there's Teddy, there's so many other organizations around here. That tells you we are in this together. So the future with Wakimbizi, all of us, I know we have, we know about the durable solutions of refugees. There are actually 3 of them. There is volunteer repatriation, there's resettlement, and there's local integration. For most of the work we have done here, it's more onto that. It's more on integration. It's more on advocacy of the issues that refugees face. We know that there are so many. Karibuni sana. Yes, thank you so much. He's the Duke of Mathare. Allow me to recognize him. So I'll just take you through this. We hope to give you like very candid facts about what we were able to take. So allow me to a bit bore you with some facts and some information of what we were able to carry through. But to say that this is an advocacy campaign tied to making sure that refugees' issues are responded to, and not just responded by stakeholders, but inspired by refugees themselves, solutions from us. We have been having this conversation. I think it's more of the implementation we want to have. However, as Banak had said, we did this during the time of COVID last year. It took us 5 months to do all the research. The research involved the qualitative and quantitative bit of it, where we had a survey, the training the community and people field, refugees field. And among the issues we were tackling were access to services for refugees, there was education for refugees, there was freedom of movement, there was discrimination, exclusion, we're talking about privacy, we're talking about an inclusive economy. We are here and we know the real issues that affect refugees. When you talk about inclusive economy, there's issues on work permit, there's issues on KRPIN, and by extension even dragging from really not having even the documentation from the first place. We know that there has been a backlog with the organizations that are responsible for documentation. However, allow me to really present this. So the future with Wakimbizi. What's this kind of future that refugees want? It's an initiative by by Yarid. Yarid is in Uganda, and Voices here in Kenya in Umoja. And we are supported by an organization called D4C, Data for Change. It's a data organization specialized on data impact. So we're using the data we have received to give you evidence of what refugees are facing and the kind of stories that they have with regard to their future and basically how that can go ahead. So Banak, maybe you can go ahead. Yeah, so our vision for the future is possible. We think it's possible. Go forward. So I've mentioned who we are. So in 2021, we interviewed 512 urban refugees about how the COVID pandemic changed their lives. See what our communities told us and find out how we can work together to have a brighter future. So about the data collection, I mean, some of these things I've already talked about, but over a period of 4.5 weeks, we spoke with refugees. I've already spoken about this. Really, we went to the community. We talked to them. Mr. Gilbert from La Africana can bear you witness. We went to their space and used their space to actually engage with the community. So as you can see, these are a few of the images of the data collection. This is in La Africana at Kivuli doing a data collection on the issue. I think you can see that. We had a hard copy of that. And so just go forward. This is pretty much how the survey looked. We had a survey version of that online. And go forward. This is how it looked like. So together, speak up, be heard, unite. Pamoja, ongea, usikilizwe, tuungane. So it's just really coming together. We want to come together to address the issues we are facing. Maybe you can go ahead. Yes, so let me talk about this a bit. So this is a brief of really what we were able to get from the data we collected. So as you can see, 7 of us were born in our host countries and have lived the whole of our lives. That's over on the 512 number. 7 of us were born here. Let me start from up, basically. So let me just start from the map of Africa. So you can see we're in Kampala. The campaign is happening in Kampala and in Nairobi. So as you can see in Nairobi, we have guys from Somali, from Burundi, from Rwanda, same as from Sudan, Eritrea. These are people who have come to this country to seek refuge, to find a better future. But more essentially, they've been forced to come here. It's not a choice. And we know that being a refugee is not something that Jean-Marie or Chocho or Deo or anyone of us who is here as a refugee chose to be. It happened that we were forced out of our space. But then as we are here in this country of our host, the host country, which is very welcoming, we have to say, I think nobody can disagree with that. Can anyone disagree that Kenya is very receptive? Nobody, you can see. So Kenya is very receptive with refugees. But there are very patent issues that refugees still face. 32 years of old was the average age in Kenya. 34 of our lives have been spent in Kenya. Uganda, 37 years old was the average number of the people that took the research. 19% of that have spent all of that. 7 of us were born in our host countries and have lived our whole lives. So basically that tells you that the big part of this we tackled, like the 34 and above, who mostly have come to Kenya from their countries. But as you can see, the total number of years that these refugees have lived in Kenya is quite a lot. When we calculate the whole of the ages we had, like the 512, we found that there's 4,132 years of life they lived here. So that tells you how, like, the amount of time we have spent in Kenya. Personally, I've been here for the last 20, let me not say my age, eh? Someone might distract me. Okay, fine. So let's go forward. So, I mean, so a bit of that is that. So 512, as you can see, in Kenya we did 214, in Uganda 298. Maybe you can go ahead. So nearly all of us experienced at least one challenge accessing essential services during the COVID pandemic. So these are refugees. So you can go back a bit fast. So as you can see, it's a bit it's not very visible, sorry. But it's almost everyone who we interviewed said they experienced very heartening ways of accessing services. Why so? Organization had closed. Most of them had closed. Apart from them closing, there are others that have pre-existing issues with documentation. They don't have documentation. Even when they have to access services where they don't have even a refugee ID, then it becomes even more harder. So nearly everyone who we interviewed said they had a challenge. Go forward. This is the biggest hurdle, documentation, and all of us can share this thought. We know that documentation is a very big problem. Of course, we've had this from UNHCR and RAS. They have come out to say about the backlog, which we very much understand of the transition, but I think since there's quite a lot of refugees complaining, and we know of so many of them, like I know some of our colleagues have had the waiting past for over 4 years now. I mean, it's so saddening because you really cannot access anything. I'll tell you for a fact, when you don't have a refugee ID, for those maybe who don't have a perspective of the refugee story, when you don't have a refugee ID, you miss on what? You miss on education scholarships. You miss on access to services. You are harassed by police. You miss out on very important services that the refugee ID should be giving you on the list, of course. So that's something that we think that should be addressed, and we have highlighted it very much. We would appreciate that after this session, you actually visit our website. It's called www.futurewithwakimbizi.org. In all the stickers we've given you, also the link is there. You can feel free to check us out there, and you'll have a more detail. We don't want to spend so much time today to just give you this. This is really what we gave you last time, so it's that conversion. But I just want to do a brief, and my colleagues will also take some parts. Then later on, we'll do some conversation. So maybe you can go ahead. So this is one of the voices in the community we handled. So this person is saying, the only thing I can say is that because of our IDs as refugees, we do not receive any services here in Kenya. Of course, very personal with any, right? But I mean, most of the services without IDs or the kind of IDs we have, it's very difficult. So for example, Safaricom does not accept our IDs to register lines. Refugees who are here can attest to this because it does not, because they say it does not qualify to be referred to as an ID since its digits are not enough. So Safaricom closed our lines, and also we could not access services like having a KRA PIN. I mean, this is something personal to all of us here. We have experienced this. I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but even my M-Pesa doesn't read my name. It reads someone's name because the fact that my ID cannot give me access to Safaricom. However, and I appreciate that you guys will stick around until we reach the recommendation, because we've not come here to put the blame or to criticize you a lot. We will criticize you, of course, but we are here to give you some recommendations that we can work through together. So that's someone from Kenya. So in Kenya, 72% of us, urban refugees, experienced incorrect or no documents as a challenge to accessing vital services. In Uganda, the number is almost 28. So having been in the countries for 8 to 10 years on average, that's the people we researched on, that is a long time to still be experiencing documentation challenges. Do we agree about that? So like, really this is just an average of the number of people we interviewed, but what about the big number of people in Nairobi or in the whole of the refugees in the country? For some of us have spent 20 plus years in Kenya. So is it still very correct to say that we should be battling or grappling with the issue of documentation? So really those are some of the issues that refugees want to be resolved. But I will say that for many refugees that we interacted with, they're just giving one message. We want to see the ID being legitimized. How can this ID just become a leverage for like this, the normal ID? With respect to the refugee law that just came into place by that the president, the Honorable President of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, signed into law, it gives more of that. It gives more of integration, but integration will not be meaningful if refugees are not accessing services easily. Refugees will not feel integrated if they are not supported to live here more self-reliant. Without these documents, without being able to access KRA pins, without being able to access work permit, they cannot get jobs easily. They cannot open bank accounts. For those who even want to do online work, you need a PayPal account, you need a bank account. So if they're not able to access that, then it becomes a big problem. So more than 8 in 10 of us have faced additional challenges during the pandemic because we haven't gotten the right documents. So this is more of those who actually didn't have the documents. Banak, you can go ahead. 4 in 10 of us found our IDs or documentation made it even harder to access essential services. Of course, I've mentioned about this. So just continue. So here are our recommendations as YVC. And in consultation with YARID, because this was a co-created campaign. However, and this is part of the conversation we want to hear from you after this presentation. We want to hear what you think about the recommendations we have in each of the issues we are highlighting. More specifically, to advise or give insight on how we can make it work, or because this is we are going to do this for this whole year. We want to do this campaign. We'll involve you, and we really want to have those insights from maybe new recommendations, but also revising some of this, because we think that we need to really work together with you. Yesterday, we got a chance to speak to the a chance to speak to the executive director of Refugee, Mr. Jacob Bonyo, and he categorically said 2 things that with the recommendations we are having, there's 2 things that will happen about them. So one, there are things that will naturally fall with the goals of you stakeholders, like things around advocacy, things around, like basically, like for example, COHIA, is supporting refugee-led organization a lot right now. So there's those sort of recognizing RLOs like that. There are other recommendations in education that partners will support in the same. But so there's the natural overlap of those goals, and then there are those that will need a lot of advocacy. And this include mostly those issues around ID, include those issues around work permit and the like. So allow me to remove that. So collaboration with UNHCR through an MOU or similar with local organizations such as YVC and many others can be created in order to fast track the process of getting IDs and reducing the backlog. Of course, this can be a bit hard, but we feel that organization as YVC that does advocacy should be able to give its insights to the programming of RAS and UNHCR. We're also saying that UNHCR and relevant bodies of the government should involve local organizations working with refugees, such as YVCs, as middlemen in identifying and informing people of concern that their ID card remains uncollected. Of course, this is subject to data protection and also with respect to what we have seen. There are so many IDs that RAS, for example, if they were here, they would have spoken. I don't want to speak on them on their behalf, that there are so many IDs that are not collected. But how do we get the many refugees to know that the IDs are there? So there has to be a way we can work together to do that. There's a recommendation on there should be longer validity periods for refugees' ID so they don't spend too much time interacting with the system. This will also make it easier for refugees to set up bank accounts, access to work permits, and other services. Essentially, someone like me who has been here or even many of us here, 20 plus years, when we have our IDs being renewed after every 5 years, the concern from the banks are your numbers keep changing. We can't have a track of that. We are not able to engage you with that. So, but we have seen organizations currently they are working on collaboration with banks, and they are forming that. But I think for some of the voices we got in the community, they said that it would be very important that the time is increased. Instead of 5 years, have, for example, 7 years or 10 years. But subject to a lot of consultation we'll be having for the next few years coming. So I'll speak about ID, and then I'll speak on access to, I think, inclusive economy. And Chocho can speak on education because he's actually leading most of the education program at our space. And then after that, we will engage in a very small session to just have discussions around this. We really don't want to spend so much time giving you the same facts. Some of you were here, and we've given you lots of flyers that have the website. You can check it out.